I love to talk about Jimi. He's one of the favorite people that I've known in the wine industry, and yet I can't remember when I met him. I can't remember a wine industry world that didn't have Jimi in it. Obviously, we've had to imagine that since 2004. I must have met him early on at Kinsey when he was Laurent Montelieu's assistant winemaker. Later on, Jimi would come and actually look at and purchase fruit. We sold some fruit to him, actually for a couple years, including the last year that he didn't get a chance to make that fruit into wine. Jimi was one of the few people I ever took advice from. He would sometimes, as we're walking through the vineyard or doing something where no one else was around, he would give a piece of advice that I wouldn't take from anyone else, such as, hey, how about lightening up on this guy? He's really a good guy. So he may have screwed up at one time, but give him a chance. And I took his advice, and he was right, of course. Early on, also, I think, whether they associated together or not, early on he was a member of what I think several of us termed the Young Turks, the 3 or 4 younger winemakers who were forging ahead, doing new things that continued what the people in the Oregon industry up until that time had begun, the people that I respected. And so people like Jimi and Jim Prosser and Jay Summers, they were always there doing interesting things. The days when Jimi was with us, those were the days that were more fun. I think Jimi and the Brooks label showed the uniqueness of the Oregon industry. It showed new things being done by new people. And Jimi was a vibrant, take charge, new idea sort of person. So he came in with new label designs, came in with some the names of wines, that what in the hell does that mean? And we obviously are familiar with them now, but at the same time, he had an experience. He had a background that got him into wine somewhere else besides here. And he brought that and also a great sense of culinary adventure into the whole mix. And so no one at that point in time, especially among the people that hung out together, nobody was purely a winemaker. We walked and we talked. That was one of the times he gave me some advice as to how better to treat some people that we knew in common. And that was the last time I saw him. And I know exactly where I was when I heard of his death. I was on the way back from that trip and was in the Portland airport, having just gotten availability of some emails and also some phone messages. And I could see by the number of them that something was going on, and I found out very soon what it was. It's one of those 3 or 4 events in your life where you know exactly where you were and what you were doing and what you were thinking. After Jimi's death, there was a big network communication. What's going on? What have you heard? what should we all do as far as services and things like that. We went to one or two planning meetings among those people who knew Jimi, and part of it was about what was going to happen to celebrate his life, and part of it was about how we took that even further. The same people, I think one meeting that I remember was in Sam and Cheryl's home in McMinnville when they lived there, and the discussions centered on, well, what's going to happen with Jimi's winemaking. And I don't think Janie at that point she was in shock. She hadn't said, well, hey, let me run the winery for the next 15 years. Hadn't gotten to that point yet, but all of us knew when harvest was. We knew when grapes were going to be picked. He had Pinot Noir and he had Riesling. I don't know whether there was anything else. Those were the only two grape varieties I became involved in. But we all said, well, number one, and I forget who suggested it. Maybe you'll find out in querying people, but it was suggested among the group there. Of course, that's one of the great things about groups, is you've got great group process when nobody remembers who suggested what, when it's group ownership. But we all said, yes, what can we do to finish the wines that Jimi was going to be bringing in? You want to do something. You want to show your love for a person. You want to, candidly, in a selfish way, you want to make it easier on yourself. And so if you're doing something, it's better than just sitting and thinking. And that's something that we knew had to be done and that we could do immediately. So that's the reason friends get together. Favorite memory of Jimi is the last one. Walking the vineyard and talking, and I think he was seriously talking about what the future was going to be himself. As a matter of fact, I think Pascal was with him on that walk. So it was that's probably one memory. The other memory is that what I would have alluded to a little bit ago, going in to get an espresso drink at my favorite coffee shop in Portland, and Jimi coming in with Pascal, and it being very natural, very Portland, very Willamette Valley, that you always see each other at watering holes. I think it's at this point fully realized the vision that Jimi had. I think if I had one fear that goes along with that, it's that Pascal will feel that he has to take the reins and continue to do the things that were begun by his father and were continued by his aunt, and that he gets forced into it if he doesn't want to do it. And so that's the only negative that I could ever imagine. And I think from everything that I've heard from Pascal, he is sincerely wanting to be involved in the future of it. So that may be the best part of the story yet